The average office worker spends 28% of their time composing emails, and the average entrepreneur is way worse at nearly 40%. I was talking to a client last week, John, and he said that he spends around 20 hours per week setting up, composing, replying to emails, so much so that it's become the major bottleneck in his business, as in he's the only thing holding it back from success. So in this 3-part series, I'm going to walk you through how to automate every single type of email that your business might encounter. This is the first part of the video where I'm going to walk you through how to get as many of your emails in as predictable a format as you can, and to train ChatGPT on your voice, your tone, your words, so that it can reply to your clients with your information in your voice automatically. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button, because in part 2 of this series, I'm going to walk you through how to train ChatGPT on the actual emails that you're sending and receiving as it happens. Like I said at the beginning, my client told me that he spends around 20 hours a week doing this work by hand. By following this step-by-step guide, by investing a little bit in getting it set up, he could save around 18 hours a week. That's 18 hours a week that he could spend building his business, spending time with his family, or traveling to India. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at the tools that we will use for this. The first one, and most important one, is Make. That's make.com, formerly known as Integromat. I use it to automate absolutely everything. There is a free version. You can go ahead and get started with this. I don't think there's anything in this tutorial that wouldn't work with the free version. I automate absolutely everything, and I just pay this for this one, $9 a month. Can't even fathom how many tens of thousands of dollars Make.com has saved or made me. It's 100% worth it. I would be lost without this software. Next up, we are going to use Trello. Trello is going to manage where everybody is in our different email pipelines. Again, getting this set up properly, doing it right, putting a little bit of time into setting this up is going to save you tons and tons of time in the long run. Next up, I use an app called Sessions. There's a free version, but I actually have no idea how the free version is handicapped. If the free version doesn't work out for you, or if you're not willing to pay the $19 a month, you can get basically the same thing done with a combination of Calendly and Google Hangouts. We'll walk you through that in a little bit. Next up, we'd be doing a lot more of this by hand if it wasn't for ChatGPT, but not the web version. You're going to be using the API right here. You're going to go to platform.openai.com/apps and click on API. Words like API sound kind of scary to people who are not programmers. It stands for Application Programming Interface. However, I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. You don't have to touch a line of code or anything like that. You're just going to plug your API key into make.com. Make is going to do all of the work for you. But if you're here, you may as well sign up, platform.openai.com, sign up and create something called an API key. And we'll use that in a little bit. I will show you how. There's nothing you need to do right now. We're just walking you through what software we use. Next up, and this is entirely optional, I use an app called Nexweave. Nexweave is a really cool app that allows you to add text to videos and images, basically creating dynamic images. Now, when it comes to these emails, all I use it for is to make things a little bit more personalized. Again, like I said, this is entirely optional, but I kind of put a joke in every single, person who signs up for one of my for anything, anybody who subscribes to my email, somebody who tries to reach out to me for a lead, it really helps, boost like interaction. But basically, I add a logo to an AI generated image and say this is Patrick's spirit animal. It sounds stupid, but it actually boosts engagement like 3 times. Some people would take their business very seriously and don't think that their clients would appreciate a joke, can probably, skip that section. But in my opinion, this is actually how business is moving. As more and more stuff becomes automated, you need more things that are going to set you apart. People, what sets me apart from other people? Well, at least partially my personality. People want to know me for me. People want me to be the face of my business. My business is Little Assistants, which, by the way, is an outsourcing agency where you can outsource pretty much any job that can be done from a laptop. Now, as an efficiency guru, somebody who automates almost everything, it can be hard to inject personality into something as redundant as emails. But this is one way we do it. Another way we do it here is, everybody who subscribes to one of my newsletters will get like their entrepreneurship horoscope, which also is generated by ChatGPT. So before we jump straight into doing the thing, I'm just going to let you know that every single one of the automations that I create as part of this are available as a digital download in the description below. Basically, you will just, if you want to, you can create your own from scratch, but you can also just download my export. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, export my blueprint when I'm finished with this tutorial, and I'm going to upload it. You will take that file and you will import your blueprint into your own project so that you can start from basically what I do in this video. makes things a whole lot easier. But for those of you who really want a fundamental understanding of how everything works, you can follow this tutorial step by step and do everything from scratch. No problem, no questions asked. The next most important software that we use is called Formaloo. In essence, Formaloo is a form builder. We use it for contact forms, for lead gen forms, for online quizzes, for pretty much anything that requires any sort of customer input. Now, you could use anything for this. You use Google Forms, you could use Type Forms, you could use Jot Forms is really popular as well. But basically, you're going to want some way to collect information in a predictable format. The more predictable you can make things from the beginning, the more streamlined your entire workflow can be. So we use Formaloo because we got a kick-ass deal on AppSumo and because they haven't failed us yet, so we're going to continue using them for pretty much everything that we do. Now I have 30 some odd businesses, but this is my primary one right here, Lil Assistants. It's an outsourcing agency where you can outsource pretty much any job that can be done from a laptop. One thing that you will notice about this website is it doesn't have like a generic contact form, and that's because we're trying to funnel our prospective clients or people who want to get in touch into doing something very specific. Now, I sort of lied about that. We do actually have a generic contact form, but it's down here in the footer. It's sort of hidden away. Somehow people do find this, but probably 10 times as many people do exactly what we want them to do, and that is to click this button right here. In automating your emails and automating your workflow, that's the first tip right there, is you want to funnel people into the direction that you want them to go. If people on your website want to get in touch with you, they will get in touch. But generally speaking, they follow the path of least resistance. The second automation in this video, I'm going to show you how to automate that entire process too, but it does still take a little bit extra work on your part. So generally speaking, you want to try to funnel people into this contact form, which has a very predictable format. And I went ahead and created it already. I just duplicated my contact form. I don't think that I need to walk you through how to create a contact form. That would make this video too long and too boring. A pretty typical, contact form, lead generation form. It lets people try to keep it as simple as they can to get them to actually follow through and answer, while also directing them to answer the questions that you actually want them to answer. Next up, once you've created your contact form, whether that's on here, Formaloo, or on Typeform or Google Forms, you're going to have the form send that information to make.com. Remember, Make is our automator for absolutely everything. You're going to go over to, this is how you do it on Formaloo. All of these form makers have the same functionality. You're going to go over to integration and webhooks. We're going to say view webhooks. There shouldn't be any yet, and now we need to create one. So this is where we start in here. I've created a new scenario on make.com. I'm just going to call this lead gen test, something like that. We're going to create something called a webhook, custom webhook. We're going to add a new webhook, and this is, you can create IP restrictions if you want to. I'm not going to do that right now. Choose the data structure. Sorry, no, I want this to be add a hook, restrictions, save. And then you're going to copy this address to clipboard. So once you do this, you're going to send it information so that it knows what format to expect when people actually submit this form. That link right there. You're going to save your webhook, and now you're going to go submit your first entry here so that it knows what format to expect. Let's go ahead and from options, we're going to view the form. So we're going to fill out some information here, last name, Christian Ostmo, email address. Okay, so this is the most, like custom-ish part of this entire question. You can tell me a bit of your business. How many hours do you want to outsource? 30 hours, something like that. Submit. Okay, and so now we go to make.com. It has determined the data structure. So it knows what the data looks like, and you can now use that data to fill out whatever information you want. Okay, now this comes in 2 steps. This is important to note here because the first step is like a generic autoresponder, basically. Some people respond really well to the autoresponder. Some people respond really well when you get back to them in person. However, we're going to do both of those steps automatically. So the first one is going to be an obvious autoresponder because it's going to come directly after they fill out the form, and it's going to say this is an automated email. The next one after that is going to be automated too. I'm going to show you how to do it a little bit later in this video. However, it's going to look like a personal message. Here's where we go. So how you actually handle this can be different than me, but basically what I'm going to do is you're going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to create the image. I'm going to create the horoscope like I showed you before, and I'm going to copy in some text that's going to be sent the same thing to everybody. right? Create a chat completion. GPT, we're going to use GPT Turbo, add message here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give me a random animal, real or mythical, extinct or modern, or two different animals combined, just the name of the creature, nothing else. And this is what's going to make our entrepreneurship spirit animal. So that's first. Max tokens 300. It shouldn't need that many tokens, so we'll go ahead and hit that. We're going to hit OK. Next up, we are going to create the horoscope. Create a ChatGPT completion. Going to go assistant. And we are going to use the person's first name. Now, this first name is coming from straight from Formaloo, from our form builder, or Typeform, or Google Forms, or whatever you're using. So it says create a cheeky entrepreneurship horoscope for someone with a name, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then we're going to go OK. Okay, so one thing that I completely forgot to mention, and that is how to generate the actual AI image. Now, little assistants, we use our own custom AI image generator for this. However, I've created like a way to basically do it with something called Getimg, this API right here. I'll leave the PHP file in the description below so that you can set it up on your own server. All you need to do is set up a Getimg API account, get an API key, and then plug in the numbers where it is on the PHP file that I'm about to get, that is available as a download in the description below. Okay, so you don't have to do any coding, just upload that file to a server, change the API key, and you're good to go. And then you're going to create a link that looks like this. Basically, it's saying close-up photo of a blank. This is the animal that you set right here, wearing a business suit, fine art photography, blah, 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 blah. This is basically the prompt, the AI image of the spirit animal. And again, this part of the process is entirely optional. You don't have to do this. It's just, to add a little bit of personality into the whole thing. And you can change it to something else too. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing exactly what I tell you to do here. Make it your own, put a little bit of time into setting it up. And I think that your clients or your potential clients will really appreciate you for it. Okay, so next up after that, we are going to set up Nexweave. Now, this again is entirely optional, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Next, we've already created the AI image. Nexweave is specifically just for adding our logo and this tag at the bottom of the image. It makes the images dynamic. It makes it look more customized, like you actually made it for them rather than just having some random image there. But again, totally optional. You don't have to do it. It does cost a little bit of money, starting off at $49 a month. So there are probably a significant portion of people for which this is just not worth it. But basically, you're going to go in there into Nexweave, you're going to create a new thumbnail, or you're going to edit an existing one. The default image, which you basically put in codes in here so that it recognizes like where to be dynamic. So that's this image right here. The reason it says default image here with no actual image there is because what's going to be put there is a dynamic image. It's going to change for every person. It's going to be the image coming directly from make.com, the one that we generated right here. So we're going to set that as the background image. We're going to put this logo right here, which is semi-transparent, on top of the image, and we're going to put this one down here. This one also has its own variable here, user, right? User is going to be their username, right? Their first name, user spirit animal. And then basically that's pretty much it. It's going to regenerate that entire image. Let's go ahead and go. User is we're going to put in the user's first name and then apostrophe for possessive because it's going to be Christian's animal, whatever. And then the image right here is going to be the one that we generated. Back up, I did the wrong one here. So this HTTP right here, it needs to be, I gotta delete that. We got to go HTTP here, and we need to resolve a target URL. Apologies, earlier I said get a file. It's supposed to be resolve a target URL. So I screwed that up, my apologies. But that's it right there. We're going to reconnect those ones here. We're going to go here. Now I need to save this and refresh it. Sometimes this kind of gets problematic if you adjust things earlier on in the line. They don't appear, the options to add them into the automation don't appear straight away. So you need to basically save it and then refresh the page here. Okay, we're going to go back into the automation, Nexweave, select a template. I believe it's that one. This one is going to be first name. apostrophe S, and this one is going to be resolved URL. That's it right there. We got it. We're going to go ahead and save. Now, here's where things get really interesting, because we're going to send out a generic autoresponder, which you don't really need any of the user's information for an autoresponder because it's always automatic, it's always the same thing. However, the second email we send is going to be a customized automatic email generated by ChatGPT. And so the way that we format the next thing, the Trello card is going to house the information that we use in order to generate the next step of the email. So taking a little time to get this right, make sure it's formatted properly, is something that you want to do. So we're going to go to Trello. We need to create our Trello board, right? So I've created one right here called lead setup test. We're going to add a list here. We only need to add the first one to start off with. So let's just call it like new leads or something like that, or just new. We already know it's there. Everything in this board is a lead, so we can just call it new. Select, we're going to go board. What do we call this? Lead something. I think I got to change this. I get confused because I named these random things based on what I needed at the time, and I've just been reusing the same boards here. Board, lead, setup, test. And then list, new. You can give it a color if you want, depending on whatever circumstances you see. This is just a Trello functionality, right? Name, now this is where things get a little bit complicated because you have to format this right in a predictable way that makes it so that we can reach out to this person via email. So the name of the card is I think the most logical place to just put the person's email there so that we can grab it in the future. This is how I do it. There are other ways to do it, like you could ask ChatGPT what's the email that's in this block of text or something like that. You know, that could work too. But for me, I think the best thing to do is just add the email as the name of the card. It might make the card a little bit harder to find if, you know, you have to sort through this manually at some point in the future. But when you're automating everything, I think this is the best way to do it. And then in the description, we're basically just going to put in all of the information that the client or the potential has given us, right? So in my other one here, I just have name, email address. Ready is like, when are you ready to start? This is obviously going to be different for you, depending on your business and what questions you're asking. But we're going to go ahead and put name. We can go first name. We can also do space, last name if you want to do that. I typically, with my clients, I pretty much always just address them by the first name, but maybe it makes it easier to find. The thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to address them by first last name in like the ChatGPT email, because that will make it a lot less personal, in my opinion at least. I mean, maybe you want to call them Mr. whatever their surname is. But that's up to you. Just how you want to format it is totally up to you. So we're going to add an email. We're going to go answer these questions. When are you ready? How soon are you ready? And then business. Ready. I might want to add in like explain last answer, something like that, right? So you want to format this again in a way that because this is going to be dissected by ChatGPT. So you want to make sure that it has all the information and that ChatGPT can dissect the meaning of this. And then we are going to go your business. Tell me about your business. Hours. Now ChatGPT is pretty good at deciphering different information, but just keep that in mind. What are hours? That's the one. Sometimes these seem to end up in random order here. We've created the Trello card here, and now we're going to start sending the emails, the autoresponder basically. Subject, you can give it whatever subject you want. I just copied this text over from my other automation here, what I'm actually using. So hey, first name, it's Christian Osborne from, this is HTTP by the way, this will just like format the email a little bit better. It's Christian Osborne from Little Assistants. This is an automatic response, but if you reply to this email, so right off the bat we're saying this is an automatic response. So they know that this is the automated response, and the next one that I send is going to be personalized. You see, but if you reply to this email, you will go direct to my inbox. You have two options. Book a meeting with me using this link. This right here is sessions right here. I don't think that I need to go through how to set up sessions in this video, but basically the idea here is that you're going to set up meetings during very limited periods of time, right? Depending on how many meetings you expect, maybe you want to make it more or less limited. But meetings are one of the most time-consuming thing that any entrepreneur is going to do. So right here, you're going to want to limit your meetings to these basically blocks of time. This is like the entire purpose of this. My meeting schedule here looks a little bit wonky, and that's because I'm in a completely different time zone from the most of my clients. That's why I do it like this. But essentially what you want to do is you want to bulk your meetings one after the other, after the other, after the other, so that you can get them all done, you know, on certain times of the week. This is one way that you can become much more efficient. You definitely don't want to be going back and forth with your prospective clients, trying to figure out a meeting time that works for both of you. And you don't want to have, you know, a meeting here, a meeting there, meeting Monday, meeting Tuesday, meeting Wednesday, because you have to shift. Every single time you have a meeting, you shift your entire mode of thinking. And so this is one thing, one of the most important things that I do, and that is that I create blocks of time where I have meetings available. And the rest of the time I can, you know, schedule out however I want, but I always have these meetings at these times on these days of the week. Okay, so just with that little side note set aside, book a meeting with me or wait for my response. So this is the either way, I come bearing gifts for you while you wait. This right here is where we are setting the image. We've got an image link for your spirit animal, and we have a space right here where we talk about our what's it called again? Our entrepreneurship horoscope. Now you can make this anything you want, but you know, it's all fun. It's all fun. We're gonna go ahead and put our horoscope. That would be this one. Content. We're gonna hit OK. Oh, we gotta hit it. We gotta make a subject. Now you can put whatever subject you want here, but I just say like, we hear you, little assistants. Sometimes like with the personalized messages, I always put the person's first name in the subject line. That seems to increase open rate, you know, which is something to keep in mind. Maybe you want to write something like, hey, first name, we hear you, and then little assistants, so they just know where it came from. They're obviously, you know, gonna read this and think, they don't have to think like where it came from. They just filled out this form. Okay, so we're gonna hit OK. Mine is not saving for some reason, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy that text and see if I can get it to save. Gotta write this again. Hey. Also, using like all lowercase, sometimes this increases open rates. It just all depends. This is something worth experimenting with. So we got our subject line here, hey Christian, hey first name, we hear you, little assistants. Okay, and then this, and so, oh, we gotta add a recipient. Ah, that was probably the problem before. Yeah, right, you gotta add your email in here. So email, that's gonna be them, and you gotta change this to what your actual email address is at. You gotta connect it to your Gmail account. We're gonna go ahead and hit save. Now, depending on who you are, how automated this is, whether or not you know, are good at keeping up with these emails or whatever, maybe you want to send an email reminder to yourself. That's something that I never really read them, but that's something that I have set up. Basically, you would do the same thing. You're going to create a Gmail, send an email, add a recipient. Maybe you send it to like your personal email or something like that instead of your business email, just in case you forget. You say you have a new lead, and copy this right here. Check out Little Assistants leads. That's the link to the lead form, or the lead Trello board, right? Trello board. We're gonna hit OK, and that's basically it for this first automation. Stay tuned for this, because this next part is where you're actually, this is the basic part, right? The next stage here is where you actually get into the advanced time-saving portion of this video. Created our form. We've created the autoresponder. I'm gonna go ahead and submit a form now to show you what that looks like, and next we're going to get into the most important part of this whole process here, the time-saving aspect that almost nobody actually uses. We're gonna go, what's your first, so I'm just gonna fill out the form here real quick. Christian, Osmo, put in my personal Gmail, whatever. I'm ready like yesterday. I am so inundated with work. I feel like we get started straight away. Okay, perfect. So continue here. Tell me about your business. What do I want to say here? I'll do this for like WriteRen, which is my content writing service. Say I have don't have enough writers to keep up with demand, and customer requests, something like that. All right, we'll keep it pretty simple here. Well, how many hours? Say 20 hours per week. Let's see, doesn't matter. Thanks, submitted successfully. So any minute now, this should end up over here. We'll just give it a second. And it's going to take a couple seconds because it's got a ChatGPT, it's got to generate the AI image and all that jazz. So we've got a Trello card here. We're going to go new seatedawesome@gmail.com. And we've got all of our answers here. I'm ready like yesterday, explain your answer, business, hours 20. Okay, so that email autoresponder has already been sent here. This came from Christian@LowAssistance.com, came to my personal Gmail account. Christian Osborne from Low Assistance, book a meeting with me, blah, 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 your spirit animal, my entrepreneurship horoscope. So everything's going as planned, right? This is the autoresponder right here. Some people are going to take this and they're going to book a meeting straight away. That's okay. We're going to get there in a second. Some people are going to respond to the email. We're going to get to that in a second. And some people, the majority of people actually, are just going to ignore this and wait for that response. I don't really know why people do that, but they tend to do that. But anyway, if somebody books a meeting straight away with me, we can go ahead and walk through that process here. Basically, what's going to happen is they're going to select a time slot here for a meeting. I've got an availability on Saturday, April 20th at 2 p.m. India time. I'm in India, by the way, right now. It will confirm name and email address. We're going to go ahead and schedule this in here. Now, I should, any second here, I should get an email confirmation from Sessions showing my meeting. A new session was booked, was made. This is me right here, right? This is the confirmation of my meeting, and I can add it to my calendar or whatever if I want. And then, you go into, so this is my business email address. I'm also, as the business owner, I'm also going to get an email confirmation here any second now. So now here, this is my professional email address. I'm the business owner here, not the customer anymore, not the one who scheduled the meeting, but the one who has the meeting scheduled with, right, on session. So I also get an email here. I get a confirmation. I can open it or not, whatever. Okay, so unfortunately my time is up. I got to check out of this hotel, but I will see you in the next hotel. So you are right here in this video. I've got this in my Final Cut Pro timeline here. I made a pretty big mistake in the following section here, so big that I decided to re-record the whole thing. Not to worry, everything should flow seamlessly, except for the fact that my face is now missing. Sorry about that. Moving on. If you remember, we have our new lead over here, c.osmo@gmail.com. That new lead has now just made a booking, and now we have a booking confirmation. Okay, so that's what's happening here. Now we're going to go in and we're going to create a Gmail module, which is going to watch out for this booking confirmation. So the first thing, we create a Gmail module. Make sure that this is the same email address where the booking confirmation is going to end up. And then we're going to go all mail, Gmail filter. This query is really important. It's going to look a little bit different if you are using Calendly or Hangouts or something else, but if you're using Sessions, it should look exactly the same. Say you want to find all of the emails where it says that include the text, a new session booking was made, but then this minus right here means that you're excluding any messages that have this text, has been booked. I don't remember the reason why, but I think that there are two different emails that Sessions send out for this. One of the ones includes this also, and we are excluding that message because that's not the one we want. The next thing is also really important. We're excluding anything that is starred. And the reason for that is because over here, we're going to star all of the emails that we have already found. That way we're not picking up on the same emails twice. Okay, so this is quite important. Then we're setting this to 1. You can set it to whatever you want. It should only have one, there should only be one result unless like your people are booking multiple meetings with you. But in that case, this automation is going to run like every 10 or 15 minutes. So it should pick them up on the next time anyway. Okay, so basically we set this up. Gmail, or Make, is going to be searching for all email that is going to be looking for this email confirmation however often you want to do it. And then we are going to go to, so if the user books it straight away, then what's going to happen is we're going to set up a ChatGPT module. It's going to be, go ahead and please answer only in a single word for the following conversation. Here's an email confirmation. Then you have the text of the email. That's this text right here. Everything that's in here will go to ChatGPT. And then it's going to say, I'll ask you a few questions about it. First, what's the email address of the person it's with? Now, we have to make this a little bit more complicated because ChatGPT like really hates it when it thinks that people are trying to scrape data or something like that, trying to take email addresses. So you have to be a little bit more specific with this to get it to actually work for you, to consistently at least. Sometimes it will say, I'm sorry, I can't process this response because I can't scrape data, something like that. Can't get somebody's user email. Because it's unethical, whatever. So you have to make it clear to ChatGPT that you already have this person's information. This is somebody who's already booked a meeting with you, and please just tell me their email address. That's in somewhere jumbled in this text. There are probably other ways you can get their email address, but this is the easiest, cheapest way that I know of. There are other text scraping tools, but I like this one the best. So this right here should respond with nothing except the person's email address, nothing else. If it responds with anything other than exactly what the person's email address is, then you've failed. So you might want to if you need to tweak this, keep tweaking it depending on the contents of the email and the response. But basically, this is going to return the person's email, which is then going to search for the Trello card. Now, make sure that you have the correct Trello connection, because that's one that I've screwed up all the time. Make sure that you have, obviously, the right Trello board, which should be this one, lead setup test, for me anyway. And then right here is where you insert the response, the result from ChatGPT, which is c.awesome@gmail.com, which is my personal email address, the email address that I booked from, right? So you can go down here and put message, but it actually does it twice. You can just put results right there as well. Limit 1, it's just going to return one Trello card, one meeting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move that card. We're going to move it from here, from the new, because anything that's in new, if it's still there after like 2 days, we're going to send that person an email. We'll get to that in a second. But first we have to move them over to booked if they've already booked, so that we know that we're done with this person. We don't need to send them any more emails, right? So we are going to enter manually add in the card ID from this Trello module right here, and then we're going to change the list ID basically to a board and list lead setup test. So it's going to be in the same board, but you're going to change it to booked over here. So it's going to be moved there to there. Yeah. That way, automatically we know that this person is already booked and we don't need to send them any more emails. And now, last but not least, we are going to add a label, starred label, to this email, because that way we know that way this one knows not to check it again. Do you remember over here where we said at the end we put this minus and then is starred? That way, whenever it searches for anything, it's not going to find it's not going to find this email for a second time. It's just going to always find new emails and or fail. Obviously it could fail and not find anything. But it's not going to recheck. It's not going to redo emails that have already been processed. That's basically what the entire purpose of this is. So we'll go ahead and run this right now. And let's see. So that has been moved over there to booked, and that email should now be starred, which probably have to refresh it. And boom, that way that will never show up in a search again. And we know that once this person is booked, we never have to touch this card again. They're booked. They did exactly what we wanted them to do. Okay, so I moved our prospective client back over here to new. For our next automation here, this is going to be for anybody who hasn't booked. So we're just pretending here that he didn't book, and this is what happens next. And now I'm going to walk you through how to send an email, a personalized automatic email that's going to get him a little bit closer to biting on that meeting. Now, typically speaking, this is the part that is not really automated. This is the part that is done by hand. People love to give it that personal touch, and so we're going to sort of fake the personal touch, if that makes sense. First of all, we need to do something here in Trello. We need to make sure that there is a delay in this email, and it seems kind of random, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to head over here to Trello automations. We're going to create a new rule, create automation here, select a trigger. When a card is added to, not the board, to the list, we're going to add it when one is added to the list new by anyone. probably just by you, but could be anyone depending on your personal circumstances. Added here, we're going to add a due date, and we're going to say due in 48 hours. You can set this to whatever number you want depending on how big of a delay you want between the automated email and the regular email. So we're going to set a due date for 48 hours. Go ahead and hit plus and save. And now in order to actually trigger this, I'm going to have to move it back over here. So this should create a due date of 48 hours right there, May 15th, it's May 13th. So yeah. Okay, so this next section I'm gonna say is more complicated than it should be, and we're gonna utilize Slack in order to actually make it work. Basically, the reason that it's more complicated than it should be is because, as far as I know, there's no way to get the due date of a card or to search by due date using make.com, using Integromat. But that's okay, we've got a workaround for it. Essentially what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new automation, create rules, and then it's going to be based on the due date right here. So we're going to go here, create automation. You're going to trigger it the moment a card is due. So as soon as that, if I go back over here and I say as soon as that time and date, that May 15th, that a card becomes due, this is going to get triggered. And then we're going to send a Slack message. The message text is going to be very simple. It's just this code right here inside brackets card ID, and that's going to send the card ID so that we can find the card later using make.com. So I'll go ahead and hit the plus. Oh, sorry, you have to select your Slack channel. It's going to be, I made a special one just for this tutorial here. I called it lead automation. So you can call it the same thing or whatever you want inside of your, I'm using a free Slack account, by the way, just for this test here. It's all free. You just need to set up Slack and connect it to your Trello account. Okay. And then we're going to hit, so card ID, lead automation inside of my workspace, my free Slack workspace. And then we're going to hit plus and save. So just to show you here, we're going to go ahead and trigger this automation. We're going to go ahead and set this to 1:37, which is 1 minute in the future. And now it's due soon. As soon as that becomes overdue, we should get a message in that Slack channel. And there it is. That is the card ID based on the code that we gave it earlier. So from here, we're going to create a new make automation that takes that card ID in Slack, from Slack, and actually gets the card here. I'll go ahead and remove this so that I can show you how this actually works. Basically, you're going to create a new Slack module, watch public channel messages. And then you're going to select from the list, and you want it to be the same thing right there. We're going to go just one message at a time. We're going to hit OK. And then inside of Trello, what you want to do is get a card module. Make sure it's not search card, it's get a card module. And you're going to take the actual text of the message as the card ID. So that's this right here. That's going to be our card ID. Hit OK. Now, so that should grab this card. Basically what happens is if this card sits here for 2 days without being moved over here to booked, then it gets something to keep in mind here. That's actually going to change the due date. So if you don't ever move this card back, because that's going to reset the due date. I've made that mistake more than once. Basically, okay, so here's how it goes. If this card gets moved over here, it's booked, we're finished with it, right? But if it stays here for more than 2 days, what's going to happen is this automation is going to get triggered. It's going to send the card ID to your Slack channel, which Make is going to be watching for, and then you're going to take that card ID right here and you're going to plug that information into this prompt here. These are the details given by a potential client who inquired about my outsourcing service. You're going to write 3 different responses to this person. Give me 3 options, trying to get him or her, blah, blah, blah. Each email should be broken in 4 sections. This is the very specific prompt that I use. You might want to tweak this depending on your specific needs, but essentially what we're doing is we're even giving it examples of emails that we have already written. So we're feeding ChatGPT information, emails, examples of emails that we've already written, so that it's actually learning from our language, from our text, from our tempo, from our word choice. And it's rewriting different options for us to actually send to this person. So like right here in this prompt, again, all of these automations are available as digital downloads in the description below, which means that you can have access to the exact prompt that I use But basically, so we have examples of emails that we're already saying, and then we say, try to be your best to mimic the language and word choice, style of writing, and cadence as shown above. This is not supposed to be a sales pitch. So you're basically trying to exclude everything that ChatGPT tends to do with this response. Fourth section, to invite the recipient to a meeting with me. This can also be exactly the same between the, so there are different sections of this email, right? The intro can be the same. The conclusion can also be the same. One really important way that I show people that this is like a personalized email that I'm writing like in the moment is I actually tell them, I'm going to show you this right here. I hope you're having a great start to your week. So this section is completely dependent on the day. The next section will be dependent on the day of the week and also be exactly the same between 3 email options. Today is, and then I give it the actual date. This is a formula to give the actual date. If today is Saturday or Sunday, you say, I hope you're having a great weekend so far. If it's Monday or Tuesday, it's something like, I hope you're having a great start to your week. Any other day, it's, I hope you're having a great week so far. So basically, depending on the actual day that this gets sent, we're giving a totally different introduction to the email, right? So that's actually quite important. And then it's going to leave the link, right? My book, this right here, meeting.lowassistance.com/book/Christian. So it's going to be, this is basically figuring out, I mean, this prompt again is going to look different for you than it does for me. You're trying to come up with the best formula to get ChatGPT to come up with a very casual and personalized message, but not just one. You're getting it to make 3 of them. Okay, that's really important because you're gonna pick one that's your favorite, and then you're gonna have an option to edit it. That's up to you, but we're gonna get there in a second. So max tokens, I give it 2,000. I mean, you know, dependent on your specific needs, you might give it more or less. And depending on your budget for your ChatGPT budget. Mine is pretty much as much as ChatGPT needs. It's so useful. And then from here, we're going to take that response and we're going to add it as a comment right here. And the result that you're going to get here looks something like this. Let's go ahead and run it just so that I can show you exactly what the result looks like. Save and run. So then I'm going to show you the actual comment that this came up with. Hey Christian, my name is Christian from Low Assistance. So each introduction should be exactly the same. And it is, so that's perfect. And then this should also be the same. It's Monday today, so I hope you're having a great great start to your week. Now, this is not a real lead, so I understand why ChatGPT came up with this response. I saw your interest in our domain flipping video, and I'm eager to provide you with more information. We could explore potential opportunities, blah, 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 blah. So it's a decent email. I would probably, the information that I fed it, this is all I gave it. Usually I would give it a lot more information. The client would tell me, where they're missing time, and they would also give me their URL and stuff like that. So it should be a little bit more descriptive, but generally speaking, this might take a little tweaking. I don't know, just dependent on, your specific circumstances, your specific needs. This will all change, but it's perfect. Are you available this week? You probably already got my automated email, which means you already have my booking link, but if not, here it is. And then there's the link to to book a meeting with me. So that's ultimately what we're trying to get people. We're trying to get them through the door here. Okay, from this point on, you should be able to go back to the original video, but future Lil is always here if you need me. I'm probably going to go back and edit this prompt so we get something that's a little bit less tutti frutti on a consistent basis. But what I can do from here is I can decide that one of them I love, in which case what we're going to do over here is we're going to say option 1. We're going to create a new list for each one of these. Option 3. We're going to create a new list for each one of these. First of all, we're going to take a look at this, and if we want to edit something, like let's just say I really like option 1, but I really want to edit that word, or whatever, I want to delete some section like that, then I just move it over to option 1. Oh yeah, there's a whole nother section to build. Okay, so I just picked up my kids, and so you might hear them singing or running around occasionally in the background, but I think it's quite enough. They're just drawing. I think it's quite enough. Let's continue on here. So basically we're going to need to create a new automation here. We need to go back here to our scenarios. Okay, so you're going to create a new scenario here, and it's going to check up on our Trello board. Basically, it's going to check every however long you need it to work. And and it's going to see, you know, what is new. It's going to check first of all the option 1, option 2, and option 3. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to do a new Trello module here. We are going to look at our cards, watch when card is moved to list. Yeah, that's it. So we're going to watch when new cards move to the list. We're going to make sure that you've got the right Trello connection here, of course. We're going to go board. It is lead setup test. That's the one. We're going to go list option 1. We'll start with option 1. We'll do the other options too. Limit 1. If you got some crazy volume, maybe you need higher limit than 1, but you can trigger this as often as you want. I think I'm going to trigger it for like every 15 minutes or something like that. So you should set this limit to 1 because this is going to trigger every time a card is moved to a new list, and so there's only going to be 1 there when you move it there. Okay, and we'll say all. I don't know, all from now on, doesn't really matter. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unlink this, and we got to list our comments now. So we're going to go to create comment list, enter the card ID. We're going to select, we're going to enter manually. Enter the ID from here, data, card. There's only going to be 1 comment, so you can limit that to 1 since you can give it a date, you know, sometime in the recent past from whenever you set this up, or you don't have to give it. We're going to hit OK, and then we're going to connect our ChatGPT module here. We're going to put here are 3. So basically, we're setting up ChatGPT to say, here are 3 options for emails that I want to send to a client, and then we will go to. Just so I don't screw this up, let's just go ahead and run this. We're going to run once. Once we run this 1 time, it's going to be right there. So I know exactly where it is, text data. Now, let's see, we just got to find that. Okay. That makes it easier to find. Okay, so from here, here are 3 options for emails that I want to send to the client. There's the data, the text right here. We can say, if you've made it here, that means I've chosen to go with option 1. Please print from option 1 and nothing else. That's it right there. That's basically the whole prompt. This one should be pretty simple, as long as ChatGPT doesn't, you don't want them, sometimes it will like print out some sort of like, okay, here's option 1 at the beginning, and I might write that in just to make sure that we avoid that, but basically that's what we're going with here. We're going to send an email, and this is going to come from my professional little assistant's email address. Hello, Christian little assistants. You go subject. You can give the subject, you know, whatever you want, but we can just say, hey there. Something really simple like hey there has actually a really a solid open rate. Maybe you want to use the name in there. Maybe you want to create something, you know, totally unique, or you can even ask ChatGPT to come up with the subject line based on the context, or whatever. You know, this is up to you. Email address. This is part of the reason that we create we make the name of the card the email address, because it makes deciphering it easier. We have to use fewer ChatGPT commands to get there. Card name. And so basically we're sending it, their email address is just the name of the card, and you're going to send it straight to that email address. Subject, hey there. And then the content. Now the content, you can make it, you know, I mean, you can make it just the output of the ChatGPT here. Maybe you want to add in, you know, some sort of, this is what I add to mine. Maybe you want to add in an actual HTML footer or something like that, or sign-off message, whatever you think right there. Maybe if you want to include an attachment, you can do that. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier on in the video that just kind of occurred to me a second ago is that I have a really high volume of leads, and so when usually I will move this over the same day that it's generated, but you know that the message I started with is I hope you're having a great start to your week is dependent on the day of the week, and so you could generate that here instead of this automation over here. Just an FYI if you've the need for that, depending on, you know, maybe you only get to these once every 2 or 3 days, or even once a week, you know, because this is all about efficiency, right? Yeah, so that's a possibility there. You might want to build that section of this email into this automation instead of the other one. I have autoresponders that like keep sending emails until you answer me or book. But basically, just for the simplicity's sake, we're just going to move this over to done to make things kind of simple here. You can obviously see how you can reiterate this over and over and over again to get what you want. But basically, we're going to move this a card again. We're going to take this. We're not going to change the name or the description. We are just going to move it to a new board and list. Board ID, it's going to be the same board. I'm going to get that board right there. And the list ID, actually we don't need to map it. We'll just, what's it called? Lead setup test. And list ID is going to be done. I mean the list name is just done. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. This one might not print out exactly like I want. This might take some tweaking, but we'll see. Yes, baby girl? I love you too, princess. All right. Oh, right. I have to put in the HTML and punctuation here. Okay, let me just. Yeah, see, this is what this happens sometimes. It's kind of inconsistent, so I need to build something into that. Here's the text from option 1. So we want to build in. Oops. That means I've chosen to go with option 1. Please print out the text from option 1 and nothing else. Do not write. Here's the text from or anything like. Do not print anything before or after option 1. You can come up with a million different ways to say that, but essentially you just want to get it through ChatGPT's thick skull that you don't want anything other than the text that's right. Please, this is what I wrote. Please replace the line breaks in the text with BR. This will put HTML code basically into the email. To put line breaks in the email so it looks a little bit more natural. To get the formatting right for the HTML email, also please remove the link formatting that comes from Trello. It should just be a single link in plain text. Okay, let's go ahead and hit run. All right, and here's what we've got. Hey Christian, my name is Christian from Little Assistance. Hope your week off to a great start. Reading through your notes, I can see the need to quickly boost your content through content creation capacity and streamline customer interactions. Your situation seems to fit squarely in the wheelhouse of, again, it's a little tutti frutti, but basically that's how the whole thing works. We might want to add in some additional formatting here, like this is what I like to add into my emails. Put in like a div. This is just a little bit of HTML code to make it look a little bit better. Styling equals, we'll put like a max of around, let's just say 600 pixels, and let's just say font size of 16 pixels, something like that. Put it and the div right there, and let's just see if that looks any better. Okay, now right there is the result. You can tweak that however you see fit. That's totally up to you, but you can see over here that this is in the done column. All we need to do is to set this on a timer. We turn it on so it checks like every 15 minutes, or you know, it depends on how often you get these. Schedule it to, you know, every 15 minutes if you think that that's a good idea, but generally speaking, this portion of it, like the other one can be set to every 15 minutes because I get emails all the time. However, I don't go in and add them, you know, I don't go in and add them to my option 1, option 2, option 3 all the time. I might do that once a day, something like that. So if I schedule it to happen, you know, at 10 a.m. every day and say I just need to have this part of the day done by 10 a.m. by just moving the editing and moving them over, then that's basically how that works. So you can set it up however you want, however you see fit. This one is a good one to have set every 15 minutes. Or it depends on your volume, right? If you only get one email a day, you don't need to set it every 15 minutes. It can be one. I mean, it could even be once a day. Like nobody needs instant email replies, I guess. Okay, and that right there is pretty much it, or at least the you know, the important part, the bulk of the new information here. So from here, I mean, there are different ways that you could take it. It's just dependent on your specific needs. For me and what I do, I have a second automation that looks a lot like this one. So that if they actually book a meeting with me on this second email here, then it moves it over to the booked column, so I know that I don't have to send them any more emails. And then I've got another one that looks a lot like this one, where it continues sending them follow-up emails if they never book, basically. But you're gonna have to craft those follow-up emails yourself, however you see fit. For my content writing service, WriteRen, for example, that third email actually offers them a free article. So, you know, you work in your own process here. Put some time into thinking what the customer journey is, because that's ultimately what you're trying to get down to. That's what you're trying to automate. And don't be afraid to put time into this, because like I said at the very beginning of this, I mean, this is going to automate 90% of your customer onboarding, basically. And so in the long run, it's going to save you dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours. If you need to put 20, 30, 40 hours into getting it perfect, there's nothing wrong with that.